Hello, everybody. Here we are, episode 7. Episode 7.
7.
I know. What crazy times. Who thought it would keep our attention this long? So, I'm Kev Feasy, as always, and this is...
My name's Matt Stevens.
And this is the Let's Start a Cult podcast. And for those of you who are just joining us, this is the first thing we're doing is really sort of getting up to date with the Fierce and the Dead recording. So far, we've covered everything up until the live recordings, which started with field recordings. What year did we do that, Matt?
That was, field recordings came out in 2017 because we did the Magnet EP in 2015. Then the Magnet EP came out on vinyl in 2016. And then in 2016, we played Ramblin' Man Fair, which we spoke about briefly in the podcast, the previous episode. And this one was recorded there, so and released in 2017. And it was the first time people had really heard anything from the new material we're working on for the sort of third studio albums, because basically we've been playing the songs that were going to be on the Euphoric, the album that eventually became Euphoric, since about 2016. So when we did HOH Prog, and when we did I think we played with Crippled Black Phoenix, we played with Dave Lombardo, we did loads of gigs around that time, playing with quite interesting bands, didn't we?
We did, yeah. Are you reading all this off? Because that's an excellent. Did you research this one? Because that's cheating.
No. My memory gets better if it's within sort of 5 years. So
we're now within recorded memory.
We're in living memory now, whereas before. No, but my memory from more recent events is slightly better. So, we were basically 2016. We had like HH Prog, and we did the Ramblin' Man that we spoke about before. We did lots of gigs, lots of bigger festivals.
Yeah.
So, and we got basically comfortable in playing in front of a few thousand people. We got comfortable doing like support slots with sort of quite well known bands. So we did like Celebrate with Frost, and it was Anathema, and we did a lot of these sort of gigs where we got a lot more confident live. Yeah. And I think you can hear that on these two particular live recordings. So should we talk about field recordings first, Kevin?
Yeah. So that came about just kind of out of the blue. I think that was off the back of Magnet, and again all this. We say momentum, but I mean, this is momentum built up over like 8 years, 6 or 7 years. It's a very slow rolling, moving kind of momentum. But yeah, we got offered Ramblin' Man opening slot on the prog stage there, wasn't it? And how did that come about?
I should probably at this point say thank you to Jerry Ewing, because I think he put a good word in for us.
The
Mighty Prog magazine. So thanks, mate.
Because Ramblin' Man had only been going in a couple of years, I think.
Yeah, it was. This was its second year, and it's a sort of classic rock type festival, but they also have like Devon Townsend. They have all sorts of like Clutch are doing it this year, and they have quite sort of interesting acts and stuff, and. It's quite eclectic bill, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mostly based around that kind of. It's a rock festival, I think, in a kind of like the old-fashioned sense of the word, which was great because I mean we grew up with going to Castle Donington and Monsters of Rock and all these kind of things. So I know for me it was seeing the lineup. It was I know the lineup was slightly out of time, but having our name on the same bill as Whitesnake was. Was amazing.
I've got the poster on my on the wall downstairs in my house. I've got the poster because it says Whitesnake, Hawkwind, the Fierce and the Dead.
Yeah,
and because it's so surreal, I like to have a look. And it's got I think Europe played, and it could have been like a Reading lineup from like the early 80s.
Yeah,
or a Donington lineup from the late 80s, early 90s. It's like, that real. When we were kids, me and Kev used to go to like Monsters of Rock, so we saw because we'd been to like Sepultura and Pantera and those sort of bands. And then the headliners would be someone like Whitesnake or Aerosmith, and it's very much that sort of do, isn't it?
Oh, very, very much so, yeah. And it was a real. I don't know. It kind of it was kind of like a nostalgia trip. But we got offered it. We accepted it. They were great. They put on an amazing show. Just the crew there, the way it was all run, and it was our real. We'd played Arctangent. We played some starting to play bigger festivals. I think Rambling Man was our first experience with like a really big stage. Where it's like you had to sort of shout to each other if you wanted to catch each other's attention, and a full kind of stage crew and front of house and all these kind of things that up until this point we'd been playing small venues, as Matt was saying, doing lots of supports around, and we'd slowly been building up to sort of bigger festivals. This was really the first one where it was that experience, kind of the experience you thought it would be like when you were 14.
Yeah, it was totally like you walk on stage, and like I said, I think as we said in the previous podcast that we were the first act on, and we looked out and there was several thousand people watching. There's photos from it. I think I'll try and put some in the link to them in the show notes. But there's a photo of us walking on, and it looks nuts because there's just so many people there.
Yeah.
And we were really lucky that we were the first band on, and there was no one else playing on the other stages. So people didn't really know where we were, but they just had nothing else to watch. So yeah, we got the advantage of, and I think a lot of bands later in the day on that particular stage didn't get as many people watching them because you were up against Whitesnake or Aerosmith or not Aerosmith, but those sort of bands on the main stage. But we had no competition whatsoever, and as we said before, we weren't expecting anyone to particularly be watching us, but it was a fantastic thing to have that many sort of people watch us and have that experience of playing to those sort of people after playing in bands for years and years and years. It's just like, oh, that's what it's like then. Yeah.
So the recording came about because one of the things that Rambling Man were doing was they were, as long as you kind of gave permission to be recorded, they were recording sets and they were mixing them and mastering them, and over the weekend in a little mobile unit they got there. And then at the end of the weekend, for the people in the festival, you could buy a CD. It was I think it was for a charity. I can't remember which charity it was. I think it was for Nordhoff Robbins. And yeah, so it was one of these things where you could go to the festival and then on the Sunday night you could buy a CD featuring live performances that you'd literally just seen. So yeah, so which was amazing. So they'd offered to record our entire set, and we could also then have access to the full recordings of that afterwards as well if we wanted to. So I remember, I think it was it myself and you, or myself and Steve, or I can't remember, but two of us went over to this little mobile recording van to okay which track we wanted to put on the compilation CD. Was it you came with me, Matt?
No, it wasn't me, because I went to the bar and I don't remember any of it from about 3 o'clock onwards. I remember going into that dressing room and there was loads of beers and it was we were sharing a dressing room with Thin Lizzy, weren't we?
With Thin Lizzy, yeah.
With Thin Lizzy's dressing room, and it was full of beers, and I drank the beers, and I don't remember anything after that. I do remember Graham losing his keys, but apart from that, I don't remember.
Graham losing his keys. I remember Tim, our roadie, my rock star moment. There was some tangerines. I became really worried because it was quite close to us going on that about if I peeled the tangerine, my hands might get sticky and I might not have time to wash them. So I asked Tim to peel a tangerine for me, and I'm pretty sure there's a photo somewhere of Tim. Thanks, Tim. Tim was peeling the tangerine for me. So yeah, that was my diva moment.
That was brilliant.
So we went over to this little mobile unit and it was amazing. Yeah, they've got an entire mixing setup in there. We had a quick listen through to stuff. Magnet was the opening track, the track that we was opening the set with. So we okayed for that to go on it. And then that was available. And again, another thrill, being on a CD with bands that we used to read about in Metal Hammer. That's cool. That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's when we met the guys from Hawkwind, and I mean, I've spoken to Dibs online quite a bit, and then that's how we ended up doing loads more gigs with Hawkwind later on. But that's later in the story. But that's basically how we got to be friends with Hawkwind and do those shows with them. So yeah, no, it was a great day. That was absolutely fantastic, and
a great day out is a good way of putting it, really.
Lovely, yeah.
See, I think a lot of bands always talk about They have, the desire to be headliners. Of course, everybody wants to be the headliner. However, I think we've kind of placed ourselves a bit more. If you go on either first or mid-afternoon, you get the rest of the day to yourself. It's like
lovely day, yeah.
All the glory and
and all the beers as well.
all the beers as well.
A lovely time. I had a lovely day. It was great.
Yeah, it's great.
Would visit again. Star.
We put a review.
No, it's lovely. So we did that, which left us with a live recording. So the live recording is the first one that's got anything from Euphoric on it. So we'd been basically, one of the things with the Euphoric album was we went out and we road tested all the material.
Yeah.
So this one's got Dancing Robots and Verbose on it, which are both from the Euphoric. We were during this time, we were basically trying out various different gigs we'd try, like Truck, and see which ones went down best and what got the best reaction and things like that, and the ones we could play best, and we'd got the right feel for. And also, this was the first time, when we get to Euphoric, we're doing a lot of things with. Each time we record something, we change the sounds and change the gear we use and all that. And this time is when we started tuning down to like the drop C tuning, which is like we kind of got from like the Melvins and
Soundgarden.
the bands Soundgarden, the drop tuning stuff. So that kind of it creates a bit heavier, I suppose.
Can I just clarify something as well? Because a lot of people these days, when you talk about drop tunings, for example, as you talk about being in drop B, people think that you're dropping the entire guitar or bass. So all the strings retain their the same note relation, but you're just dropping them all. That's not what we do, and it's a Soundgarden thing that we kind of got, isn't it? And like Melvin's, it's where your low E, that's the only string you're detuning. Everything else stays exactly the same, and what that gives you is this weird interval. So, you've got like a really low string, but then you've got these higher strings above it. So it just creates a slightly different kind of sound.
That's right, yeah. There's definitely, I think, is it Slaves and Bulldozers by Soundgarden?
Yeah. Oh, Rusty Cage is a classic, drop B.
Drop B, yeah. When Deftones and Korn came out with the 7 strings, people were tuning their normal guitars down, weren't they?
That's right, yeah.
And, and I think in Doom circles, it's quite a big thing where a lot of Doom bands tune to drop D. Well, they tune down a tone and then tune to drop D, so they're in drop C, but we don't do that. We've had to have our guitars specially set up for this tuning because...
it's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare, yeah. Because one of the things as well is, a lot of the gigs we do are like what they call flying gigs, where you turn up and you use the backline that's provided. You can probably only take one guitar with you, and a bag of pedals and stuff. So it's very difficult if which we've got songs in our set in drop B, drop C, drop C sharp, drop D, and E normal tuning. So it's virtually impossible to get a properly intonated guitar that will take those sort of tunings. So it's very difficult.
Yeah. No, it is.
We always
absolutely
cause ourselves a lot of problems there, don't we?
Yeah. It's the same old, isn't it? We often say, how do a lot of these bands, have this amazing live sound? Well, a lot of the time it's because they've got road crew, they've got guitar
and they've got
techs.
loads of gear. Yeah, and they've got loads of guitars properly intonated.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we haven't got. Anyway, this is I was really pleased with that when it came out, the field recordings out, and I think the new material was well received.
Yeah.
And I like going out and playing the new stuff and experimenting with it. So, is there anything else you want to add about field recordings, Kev?
Not really. I mean, it's pretty straight down the line. It was we were first on. It was it was a bit of a weird one for them as well, because I think we were an instrumental band, which wasn't really, I think we were the first instrumental band to play it. Rambling Man. So we were on for like 30, 40 minutes or something like that. So the set that you hear on field recordings, including all the nonsense in between, is pretty much as it is. It was us there, And I think, like, as you say, we was playing Dancing Robots. I think even at that point, we'd been playing Dancing Robots for several months. Verbose was quite new. And then it was just the favourites.
2 from the Magnet EP, 1 from Spooky Action, and... and 666, which we'd always played live. So yeah, it's just a nice souvenir of a nice day, isn't it?
Yeah.
really, to be honest.
Again, this is all tying
up
into your theory last time that we're just competition winners.
This competition. So it was lovely and we had a nice time.
We've had a lovely time, but we're going to take the bus fare home.
So that's it for field recordings, Kev. Oh, and Mark Buckingham's artwork and Kevin Nixon's photography as well. Mark's artwork for it's superb on that one. It's really cool.
Yeah, Kevin had taken some amazing photos, and there was a couple of backstage photos looking out into the audience, and that's what we gave Mark, who, if you listen to the last podcast, we told you about. Mark's an amazing guy, amazing artist, and we just asked him to use that. And yeah, that's what he came up with. So if you haven't seen it, go online and have a look at the field recordings artwork.
Don't look for the CD; it's not available anymore. And it was released on CD and tape.
Yes.
And the tape sold out very quickly, which was brilliant. Which features art by Paul Hickman, who's another mate of ours. If you look at Mark's art. Mark and Paul have been the two people who've done art for us since we started, and Mark's art references Paul's art and vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's really good the way they've intertwined what they do for us. They're brilliant guys, and we're so pleased to have them involved.
Yeah, we're very lucky. We're very lucky to be involved with these people, and also as well, we used a slightly alternative title for the cassette because we thought, it's heavy metal, isn't it? And that one is called The Fierce and the Dead Field Recordings Unleashed in the Southeast, because it was in Kent. And I remember
we make ourselves laugh, really.
Yeah, I remember my exact brief to Paul was, can you draw a heavy metal monster?
The next thing we got offered was Rosfest.
Yeah.
Now, Rosfest in heavy metal, in progressive rock circles, is like basically the best prog festival in America.
Yeah.
And the guy who runs it's a guy called George Roldan, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And George is a really cool dude, right? And a lot of our other friends had been putting in a good word for us for a long time to have us over there. A lot of my friends' bands have played, and they always said how wonderful it was. That was the festival. If you can ever get on any festival, this is the one. And and when we started the band, it was one of the things I always hoped we could eventually do, and we got to do it, and it was incredible, wasn't it? To go to the States and play for a band from Rushden.
Yeah.
Seems utterly impossible.
Yeah.
None of our friends had ever done anything like that, and to just have the opportunity to go to another country. And be treated with kindness, respect, and it was amazing, wasn't it?
So what actually happened was we'd played at Summer's End, which is one of the more better known, better respected kind of prog festivals in England. And when we played it, there was some visiting emissaries from Rosfest, namely Lucas Phillips, who was one of the team organising Rosfest at that point. And he was there with Simon Godfrey from Tiny Fish and his wife Stacey. Simon had just moved to America, hadn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he'd just come back to Summer's End to visit. And anyway, he was there and he was showing Lucas around, and they'd come to the festival. And I think, we'd been bigged up by Simon. Lucas was already a fan, but actually got the opportunity to see us, and then went back to America and sung our praises to George Roldan. And George, I can't thank him enough. I think a lot of people have to understand some of these festivals, some of them are pretty much corporate concerns. I'm sure there's a lot of love that goes into them from the people organising them. But some of the independent ones, like Summer's End, even like Arctangent and, things like that. But especially Rosfest, George, he's not a professional promoter. He's a guy who absolutely loves the music and wants to bring the best music he can to his festival. And so, he decided to roll the dice on us. So myself and Matt, you got the email, Matt, didn't you? What was the first contact you had?
It was an email inviting us to play. I think I'd been emailing them for years to try and get a slot there, see if anything would ever come up. But I think then we got the email, and I phoned you, Ken. I was so excited.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and that they were going to help us to get everything, sort the visas out, and do everything.
You came round my house, and we had a Skype call with George.
And George was lovely, wasn't he?
George was really
cool
lovely.
dude.
Yeah, and I think at that point we knew it was real.
Yeah, and it was just they. I mean, I don't know how much you know about if anyone knows about doing gigs in the States. You have to get a work visa, which is an expensive and complex process that George sorted all out for us.
Yes.
Basically, so we could go over and do an hour and a half set. Which normally when we do gigs, generally speaking, there's not that level of organisation involved.
Yeah.
But you have to basically prove you're a real band. So you have to get all your press and every sort of single thing that relates to you being in a band, and go down to the embassy. Oh, you have to even get to the point to get to the embassy, but you have to send it to the embassy, and then they rejected us once, didn't they? And we had to reapply.
They did. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you exactly what it was. So George, a lot of festivals don't do this. A lot of festivals don't offer you help with getting there. They say, like, here's some money, sort it all out yourself. George and his team had obviously been doing this for a while, and I think it's, over the years it's been getting more and more difficult. But, George put us in touch with the amazing Donna O'Donnell, who was going to put it all together for us. So we had to supply all this information, and I can remember the exact term. To get a work visa as a band, you have to prove your cultural relevance. Basically, what that means is, why are they not hiring a band from America? They have to prove to the US authorities, or whoever it is, the visa people or whatever, why are you not hiring an American band? Why are you paying money to get a band from a different country to come? So we have to, using our press and other things, we had to prove why we were something different, and as you say, we did get turned down once. I don't know the actual ins and outs of that. Donna just came back to us with saying that there's been difficulties. However, Donna is an absolute Rottweiler and wouldn't let go of it, and I think in the end she ended up with like a volume of information. And the other thing that was really amazing at that time was we were told one of the things that might help us was to ask some friends in the industry if they could offer letters of recommendation, saying that we were something unusual, something different, And that was great. You reached out to a lot of people, Matt, didn't you? And we got all these great letters. Yeah, no, we got so much help, and it was, it was amazing, and it just didn't seem, at one point it didn't seem like it was ever going to happen. Basically, we got the application signed off. It took ages, and a lot of bands don't get past this stage. Like if you look at like Orange Goblin, bands much bigger than us struggle to get visas to work in the States. It's very much down to, it seems to be, who the agent is that's dealing with it, which way the wind's blowing on that particular day, and we do know a lot of bands and a lot of people who do just chance it and just go for it with just a tourist visa. However, the problem with that is if you are found out to be playing any shows over there on a tourist visa, then it's a ban and you're never going to go back for it. Was it 10-year ban or something like that? People used to get away with it years ago, but I don't think you'd really struggle now because of the nature of the way it is out there. I mean, you can look up things online so easily to find out about bands now. You know what I mean? So there's no chance you're just getting away with it. I think absolutely. I think you have to be, you'd have to be very daft to have a go. I mean, I wouldn't dare do it. Exactly. So we got there. We're not even there yet. We've managed to get the visas signed off. We even got told, even with the visas, if they, there's a chance you still might get turned back at the border in America when you fly in. So until we was actually, in a car leaving the airport, I think that's the only point we kind of really believed it was happening, didn't we? It was terrifying, properly terrifying. 4 men standing with some guitar cases, But so then we had to go to the embassy, didn't we? That's right, yeah. And do a little quiz. Take your fingerprints and do a quiz. And they basically ask you questions about yourself. And then when you go to, when you actually get to the States, they ask you questions again to make sure all the information correlates. So they're very thorough. And, when we got to America, when the gentleman asked you, the old boy's got a gun with him, and it's like, bit scary, you know what I mean? My memory of the embassy was the lady at the counter asking what sort of music we played. And I went into sort of, magazine press interview kind of mode and started giving this vague, oh, well, we're kind of, and then I realised, no, she's actually wants what's written down here. So I just went with whatever he'd written down,
Yeah, it was the American Embassy was, I found scary as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
The whole experience is pretty, and you have to go down there and you can't you're not allowed to have your phone with you, are you?
No, that's right. Yeah. When you go into the embassy, yeah. It's all very,
no phone, no technology whatsoever. It's bizarre. It's a really bizarre experience.
Yeah, very much so. I'd say one thing as well from this, we've got the visa signed off, but the one thing that was another challenge for us was we'd been asked to play for an hour and a half. And that, I think the longest we'd ever played for up to then was, as a set, was maybe 50 minutes. Had we even done an hour?
40, 50 minutes was our usual gig. So to do an hour and a half, I mean, we had to go through our entire catalogue of stuff, plus all the new material we had. So it was a real, it's quite a big job to get all the songs together for it.
Yeah.
I think, and also the thing that we were going to play in another country, and I mean, we'd been doing these bigger and bigger shows, and we sort of been getting more confident as a band. But I think what we learned from doing that is that, the standard of playing, I think we had to get better, basically, didn't we? We had to be tighter and work harder. And I think that's something, we've always tried to put on a better show and tried to play better each time and practice more and work harder. I mean, I know if we're doing a show, we've got a big show like that. I mean, I'll be practicing 3 or 4 times a week on my own, and then band practice as well.
Absolutely.
So it's quite an intense thing.
I think it's the one thing we'd kind of been running on up till then, and I think I spoke about this last time, is that we were getting more and more comfortable in, our musical skins, as it were. And, we were aware that we're not, virtuoso players, and a lot of the background we come from is a lot more, the sort of like almost noise rock kind of stuff. However, maintaining any level of punkish energy for an hour and a half is fairly unrealistic unless you're about 16.
Yeah.
So, we realised that, not just our ability to play, but also like, physically we had to kind of step it up a gear. A song like Andy Fox that we hadn't played for a while, suddenly, there was this was the right song for this. It was on a big stage. It was something that had a lot of space around it, and we'd learned how to use energy to really up the ante, and now we were learning how to use space.
Yeah, it was very much a case we got really good at being the 30-40 minute support band. And I still quite enjoy doing that, but it fit. But this is where we had to learn how to do that hour and a half thing, which was a big thing for us, really. But it was good, really. I think if you saw the shows we did last year, I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do the shows we did, all that light and shade and keyboards and quiet stuff, or even doing the acoustic things. You wouldn't have been able to do those without having experience doing the Rosfest things. Absolutely.
So there we were. We got on the plane. We went there. David Elliott from the Bad Elephant came with us as well. I think it's just because he just wanted to check up on us.
But it was great to see him. It was great having David there. It was great having Simon and Stacey there as well.
It was brilliant.
Lucas. There was a lot of, Octavia was there, weren't she?
Yeah, Octavia, who's who helps out with another one of the sort of like the well-known world kind of prog festivals, 2 days, one prog in Italy. She was there. It's a bit of a convention, isn't it, for the whole scene?
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's loads of people there. Loads of my mates like Mike and Peter and loads of those guys. Jeremy was there, weren't he, with his missus?
Yeah, that was nice fantastic. Dude, yeah.
I mean, everybody was just so like Mark, loads of people there, really nice people, and just to be able to hang out and be treated with immense kindness.
Yeah.
It's nuts. I mean, I can't mention everybody, but there were so many people we got to hang out with and just have lots of times. And we basically got off we got to the hotel, and the festival basically takes place in there's a hotel associated with the festival, isn't there?
Well, we were jet lagged, so I think we were something like 5 hours behind. The festival's in Gettysburg.
Gettysburg,
Pennsylvania. So by the time we'd flown into Washington, I think it was driven across. We were 5 hours behind UK time. We'd had a very, very long day. The plan was to just shake a few hands, have an early night, reset for the next morning. But what actually happened was
we went and started drinking heavily, didn't we?
I didn't.
Me and Stuart and Steve did, and basically that set the tone for the next 3 days.
It really it didn't help. Jet lag and hangovers.
When we played on the third day of Excess, we were on at 11 o'clock in the morning, which was 5 or 6 a.m. UK time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, it was all a little bit disorientating.
But Rosfest is surreal anyway. But they put on everything. It couldn't be done to a higher standard. The way it's organised is just incredible. I mean, it's in a proper theatre. It was very busy. 800. I mean, because we were on early on a Sunday morning, I didn't know. It's one of those things again where I didn't know how many people would be watching us, and it was rammed full of people.
Yeah,
and we went down really well, didn't we? Really good reaction.
It was fantastic, and I think as well. People have to understand that with some of these festivals we play, some of them are, they're all, supremely professionally run. But there's some when, Rosfest, the first night we got there, as Matt was saying, we went out for a drink, but we were invited out. We were invited out by George, and the entire crew were there, and that's who we were hanging around with, when we were there. And so, playing, it felt, I wouldn't say pressure is the wrong word, but you felt a responsibility that, this wasn't just something you could just turn up. It's like these people have invested time and effort, and, you could see the love that they'd put into it. And, we just wanted to do the best we could for that.
Yeah, we didn't want to let anyone down. I think it was more of a case of, you wanted to do a really good show for it. I think that was the key for it, really.
Yeah.
Because they treat us with kindness and respect. That you want to ensure that you deliver the goods, as it were.
Yeah.
That's the pressure I felt personally.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was amazing. It was pretty amazing just to be able to sort of looking back on it. It still doesn't seem real, to be honest. I mean, on the Friday night, on the Saturday night, they had the drummer from Dream Theatre, and then the following morning, the drummer from Derek's Experiment. It was bizarre. It was
very weird. Yeah,
one after another. And it was just it was.
So we'd organised. We knew this was going to be a big deal for us, and whether we released it or not, we wanted a recording of this. So it was something that Rosfest offered, was the ability to have it filmed and recorded, and in conjunction with David at BEM, we decided that that's something we wanted to go ahead and do. Like I say, the crew and everybody there were top notch. So everything was recorded really well. I was able, as an audio engineer, I was able to ask for what I wanted. Without getting into technicalities, I was able to take DIs of things and extra mics and all this kind of stuff. The film crew were great as well. Did a great job of the filming, and they'd also employed Rosfest had employed some lighting guys that did an amazing job. And, again, this was all new for us. We've never been involved in staging or lighting like that. It's all very much like, right, you're on, lads, go.
Yeah, it was incredible, wasn't it?
It really was, yeah. So we did it. We survived it. We came back. I got sent. I didn't get sent. I actually got given the multi-tracks. Me and David, all of us, we went to Walmart and brought a hard drive. And we took the multi-tracks back with us and we put them all together, and I went through them all, and I like to think we're quite an honest, transparent band. The recordings that went onto Live USA 17, as it ended up being called, was what we felt was the best representation of that show. Some of the tracks, a little bit rabbit in the headlights, I think, some of the tracks, and everything was good, but we really wanted to put together a little package that was, something that we felt really represented that experience for us. So yes, there are tracks that we played live that aren't on Live USA 17, but I don't think it really detracts from it. It still works as a continuous piece.
And I think as well, the other thing was we didn't want to put anything on this one that was already on the previous one, did we?
That was a big thing as well, because obviously things like Verbose, Dancing Robots had already been on field recorded. We didn't want to just go and here's another, here's some more versions of this, absolutely. But it all came together really well. And, in the context of, we'll talk about that on another podcast. We've now done 3 live recordings. And I think even in the context of those 3 recordings, there's you can see the differences in as the band progresses, as the sounds change, the playing changes, our comfort on stage changes, our ability to deal with these experiences, Do
you remember I broke a string?
Yeah. See, that's one thing I had to leave off the recording because it just went on for quite long, and it was basically me, Matt, and Steve doing Dick Van Dyke impressions for about 3 minutes, whilst Matt changed the string. It wasn't 3 minutes; about 2 minutes.
I think people were amazed though that I just had a packet of strings in my pocket and put on another string. I think people were surprised that I just did that rather than handing the guitar to another man. And I just thought, well, it's early in the set. I've got time. I'll just put a new string on.
Yeah.
And that's how, because that's what we were used to, weren't it? It's like,
yeah, I think in the context of the prog world, which we've come, as we said before, we've come to prog by accident. Some people aren't used to the way we came up, through small gigs, quite a punky kind of thing, very DIY. So in the context of the prog, which a lot of it is, quite high production stuff, really, I think we kind of stand out as being a bit different. So, as Matt said, when he broke a string 2 songs in, and rather than
just whacked another one.
Yeah, we just chatted to the audience whilst Matt put a new string on, and I think after that, everybody kind of got what we were then. And you could feel the energy in the audience picking up after that.
Yeah, and we had a good laugh. The only thing I didn't realise was that I don't think a lot of people really understood what we were saying. Because our accents are quite difficult to understand, apparently. So I didn't realise that.
And we were quite hyper as well.
We were quite excited. And, it wasn't the place that we expected to be, to be at that point.
So if anybody wants to visualise that missing moment, maybe I'll put it out one day. But if you imagine 4 blokes, 3 with microphones, all hungover, all very, very excited and, a bit shell-shocked by the situation, trying to act natural and ended up doing Dick Van Dyke impressions and talking about Arsenal Football Club.
It was bizarre. And and it all seemed to be over very, very quickly. And then we were back at the hotel and it was like it never happened. It was bizarre. It was just but there's a video, there's video, if you go onto our YouTube channel,
yeah,
there's videos for every song from the live album available to watch as well.
Yeah.
And so you can see what it was like. But yeah, it was an amazing experience, and I can't thank the guys at Rosfest enough. It was brilliant, and
yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it's a good story to tell with kids and stuff. It's brilliant because to go and do something like that was just amazing. And there's another one we'd played the majority of the material from the Euphoric, hadn't we?
Yep, absolutely. So this was the first live recording of Truck, definitely. And I don't know how long we'd been playing Truck for. It wasn't that many. Had we even played it already?
Can't remember. We had Truck. We did Truck 1991, Verbose,
Dancing Robots.
What else do we have? Robots.
Part 7 and Part 8.
Part 7 and Part 8. So we had a lot of most of the Euphoric, and that we did there, really, didn't we?
Yeah,
so,
that's right. And coming back from America, that was our next job, was to crack on finishing off the next album. So we'd been road testing some of this stuff. Some tracks weren't even written yet, were they? But that's going to be the next episode, I believe, Matt. Is that going to be the next episode, Euphoric?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
we're rapidly coming up to date, aren't we? It's
yeah.
The memories are improving.
Well, I mean, with this podcast as well, I think one of the things, if you just say to people that we were just learning how to do a podcast and to create something that we wanted to, and what we want to do is try other things with it. So we're going to upload it eventually to iTunes, etc.
Yeah.
But really, we want to use the basically plonking it on YouTube as a experiment to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
And get calm and start to, because we hadn't really done anything like this before, had we?
No, it was another one of our harebrained schemes, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so there's various things I want to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll just, with 2 more episodes, we'll get back up to date. So what word are we going to use for the end, Kevin?
Oh, well, you should pick them. You've been doing such a good job.
I'll choose cheese flan today.
Cheese flan. Are you having a cheese flan? Have you got a cheese flan?
So if you can put cheese flan in the YouTube comments, that would be lovely. Thank you very much for listening. We do appreciate it. And please like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, and eventually we'll have it all on iTunes and Spotify, etc. Is there anything you'd like to say, Kevin?
No, just thank you so much to all the people that have been, saying nice things and, making us feel like this isn't just 2 men talking to each other in an empty room.
On a Sunday afternoon. Just fills a few hours on a Sunday afternoon, doesn't it?
Exactly. Exactly. No, it's great. It's great that people are listening. So, yeah, thank you so much. And, yeah, any suggestions, please let us know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Antiques Roadshow episodes are running out now, so we probably will continue to do this. So.
Exactly. Right, that's it. Let's get euphoric next time. See you later.
Cheers. Thank you.